A man is declared dead in Texas. He wakes up knowing the layout of a bar he's never been to in Mississippi. A doctor is unconscious on an operating room table in California, yet he describes a conversation happening in India. A woman has been blind since birth. She watched her own surgery. And in 18th century Sweden, a scientist spent decades mapping this same phenomenon, and he wrote it all down in extraordinary detail. These accounts share something that shouldn't be possible: perception without a functioning body, travel without physical movement, sight with eyes that cannot see. And yet, the details these people reported suggest something is operating that we don't fully understand, something that doesn't simply die when our body does, which raises a question medicine doesn't have a clean answer to. Where does consciousness actually live? We've examined George Ritchie's case in detail on this show before, but one detail is worth returning to. In December of 1943, George Ritchie, an Army private, was pronounced dead from pneumonia in Fort Barkley, Texas. While his body lay still on a hospital bed, he got up, walked out of the hospital, and began to fly instantly toward Mississippi. He was revived shortly after, but what happened in those minutes didn't leave him. Nearly a year later, traveling through Vicksburg, Mississippi with fellow soldiers, something stopped him. I knew I had never been there before, and yet I knew exactly how the shoreline would look around the next curve, how the streets would intersect. And all at once I knew for sure that straight ahead on that very street we would come in a few blocks to a white frame building with a red roof and the word cafe in neon letters over the door. My heart was hammering too hard to speak. A block ahead, on my side of the car, on the corner, was a white all-night cafe with a red roof. The neon letters over the door were turned off in the bright daylight, but the Pabst sign was still propped in the right-hand window. There was the sidewalk where I walked beside a man who could not see me. There was the telephone pole and guy wire where I had stood so long. How long? In what kind of time and what kind of body? Fort Barkley to Vicksburg is about an 8.5-hour drive. Yet Ritchie had covered it and came back in under 10 minutes just a year before, while clinically dead. Swedenborg, writing 2 centuries earlier, described exactly this mechanic. The spirits we are thinking about, people we knew in some way during bodily life, for instance, show up instantly when the Lord allows it. Although they may have been several thousand miles away, or even up among the stars, it is no obstacle, because the distance of a place does not matter at all in the other life. Space, Swedenborg says, is merely an appearance in the spiritual world. Ritchie didn't travel through space. He moved through something else entirely. Let's re-examine Dr. Rajiv Party's case, again to focus on one particular detail. Party was an anesthesiologist, a man who spent his entire career measuring, inducing, and controlling consciousness. He trusted what could be monitored, what could be proven. In December of 2010, a post-operative infection nearly killed him. He was rushed into surgery. Anesthesia was administered. He was completely unconscious. But when he awoke, he remembered things that he couldn't have known. Floating above the operating table, he could hear every word spoken in the room below him. every instrument, every exchange between the surgeons. And then, simultaneously, he found himself in India. He watched his mother and sister from the ceiling of their home thousands of miles away. He saw what they were wearing. He heard what they were discussing for dinner. He noticed a small heater in the corner of their room. When he returned, he repeated every detail back to them, and they confirmed it. Swedenborg, writing from Europe 2 centuries earlier, described how this works. An angel or a spirit can be visibly present with another in a moment, provided she or he comes into the same state of love and thought as that other. All who are in the spiritual world have this way of becoming present. This became clear to me from the fact that I was able to see people from Africa and India nearby in that world, although we were many thousands of miles apart on Earth. A flight from Los Angeles to New Delhi takes 18 hours. The 2 cities are 9,000 miles apart. Party covered that distance and returned while unconscious on an operating table. The man who built his life measuring consciousness had just had his most unmeasurable experience. Vicky Noratuck's case also fits this pattern. Born prematurely in 1951, Vicky had no memory of sight. She had been blind since birth. In 1973, at age 22, Vicky was involved in a car accident that nearly killed her. Fractured skull, concussion, and severe damage to her neck, back, and leg. Unconscious on impact, Vicky was rushed to the hospital. She found herself floating near the ceiling of the operating room. She could see the medical team working below her. She could hear their conversation. They were discussing damage to her eardrum, worried it might leave her deaf as well as blind. She tried to tell them that she was fine. They couldn't hear her. She looked around the room, and then she looked down. There was a body on the table. A wedding ring, hair, a face. She had never seen herself before. It took her a moment to understand what she was looking at. Swedenborg described exactly what had happened to her. Now the earthly body is no longer any use to us. We are in another world, with new duties and new strengths and powers to which the body we have there is adapted. This body sees with its own eyes, not the eyes we had in the world, but the eyes of our inner self. It was from these eyes, through the physical eyes, that our spiritual body had formerly looked at worldly and earthly objects. All our senses there are keener and fuller, because they are the senses of an inner self freed from the outer self. Vicky was free from her outer self. Vicky had never used her physical eyes. They didn't work. But her inner ones did. Three cases, 3 people who perceived, traveled, and witnessed things their bodies had no access to. Richie covered hundreds of miles while clinically dead. Party crossed 9,000 of them while unconscious on a table. Vicky saw for the first time in her life with eyes that had never worked. What they share is a pattern. Swedenborg mapped that pattern 2 centuries before any of them were born. Everything in the next life does appear to occupy space and to progress in time, but in and of themselves, these are changes in state, because they result from such changes. Our inner self, or spirit, experiences states to which the space and time of our outer self correspond. Space, time, location, these are all properties of the outer self, the body. Strip the body away, and what remains doesn't need them. What these 3 people discovered, each in their own way, without knowing the other, is that consciousness doesn't originate in the body. And if consciousness doesn't end with the body, then what we refer to as a lifetime is just the beginning. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that episode of the NDE Files. This show is produced by the not-for-profit Swedenborg Foundation. If you want to support us and the creation of this program, consider becoming a member of this channel. You'll get some cool perks and help know that you're spreading this content out for the next person to find. Thanks.